Hello, hello, hello. Behind me, you can see two builds that are almost the same, except for a few things. They have the same palette, they have the same shape, they have the same size, but this one, to my right, has a bit better looking because of something I call depth. Depth is the first thing that we're going to be talking about in this video. If you've ever watched any of my streams and asked me about building, I've probably said something about depth, palette, and shape. Those are the few things that we're going to be going over today. So, depth is so important. It makes the build pop, it makes it look good, and it makes it have several layers that your eyes can attach to and look around. This one, you're just hit with a wall right here. No pun intended. You are hit with a wall of just colors, things. This one breaks it up. It's just roof, frame, wall, window, door. Those are the layers. This one over here is just a wall. It's all at the same time. Roof, wall, frame, window, door. At the same time. But this one breaks it up. It adds shadows. It makes it look cleaner. It makes it look good. And it adds shape. The next thing that we're going to talk about is palette. Both of these houses look alright, but I wouldn't exactly use this palette on this style of build. Obviously, I wouldn't really use this palette anywhere because it's a garbage palette. So you need to choose blocks that go well together. Obviously, the stone and all these gray blocks go great together, but I wouldn't exactly use them in this style of build. So you need to learn what styles go with what palettes and how to make them look good. For example, look at this. It's a very common palette. It's one of my favorite palettes. It's the dark oak and spruce, and it makes a nice log cabin feel. But if you were to use this stone feel, you would try something more castle-y, more rigidy. You wouldn't really use these A-frame roofs. You would use something more spiky, or turrets, or parapets, and towers. You wouldn't use it on a little house like this. So you need to learn what buildings and styles go with what palettes and how to make them look good. The next thing I think we should talk about is shape. Now this is the starter house. It looks fine. It just looks like a nice house. It's got a nice palette. It's got a nice amount of depth, but it doesn't have any shape, any interest to it. So you can tell I just added a little bit, or a little extra rectangle to this house and a little more height. And it just makes it look like millions times more interesting. Obviously, this is just a very small example. You would want to put a lot more different shapes and different interesting things onto these buildings. So let's just simplify this down, tear away all the depth, tear away everything in the palette, and let's just look at this oak box. This is how I would go about improving this oak box. So let's move to the shape right there. The shape makes it look great. Look at that. This is, even though it's garbage, it looks all oaky and there's no depth to it, the shape gives it depth in a way, and the shape just gives it your eye, it splits apart all the things that you can see. There's three different things you can look at instead of just one thing you can look at. The next thing I would do is sort of connect all those things together again with a frame. A frame will add an extra layer of depth coming out from your build, as well as adding another color to catch your eye. It's a deeper, darker color that'll catch your eye and really lay out where the build is. This one, it's kind of obnoxious because you see the build and the lines are phasey and unclear, but this one says, no, this is where the boundaries are, this is where the building stops. It looks clean and way better than that messy mess. Then what I would do is add a roof. A roof adds a whole nother layer of depth and shape at the same time, as well as a new color from the palette. You see how we need to make all of these things work together in order to make a good, cohesive build. So this adds an extra layer of depth this way to make an overhang and an overhang this way. So there's a new layer of depth. The shape changes when you add this curve on top. Makes it a totally different shape build. Instead of a box, it's now a box with a curve on top. Now that may not sound that crazy, but it's a huge change. Then you can talk about the color change. It introduces a whole new color that'll catch your eye, the gray. The gray doesn't match the brown at all, but yet it still looks really good because these blocks fundamentally in a palette look good together and they complement each other. Then what you would do is you would add those steps to the roof itself. We added a frame to the roof and we added depth to the roof. So look at this. There's the frame, there's a new color in the palette, and then it sinks down and adds depth. That is how I would use all of those together to make a building. But obviously, this building is just plain. So some detailing knowledge will be needed in this. Look at this. This looks worlds better than this just because it blends into the environment and there's a lot less blank space. Obviously, over-decorating is also a problem. You could put slabs and trapdoors and windows everywhere and just fill up all the spaces, but it's okay to have blank space. Like, look at this blank space. I don't particularly like the crazy filled up style of some server hubs are usually people who tend to do it, and inexperienced builders don't particularly come across this, but more experienced builders may accidentally over detail things, get worried about everything. The best way to avoid over detailing is splitting up your builds into segments. Into segments. So that way you have smaller areas to detail instead of something like this giant wall to detail. You would just split it up into pieces to detail. Say we do that, then we do that, and that, or something. Just something along those lines. That would make it so much easier to detail, because maybe we could add a window right here, a window right here, and then something else over here. As opposed to, if we didn't have any of this frame, what would we do? Just have one huge window? No, obviously not. That looks utterly horrible in the side of a build. So you need to break it up and make it smaller, easy to digest chunks. And that way, it's way easier to build and it splits it apart and makes it easier to look at. The next thing I want to talk about is a little bit different than the other two. It doesn't apply to the build itself. Obviously, these three houses are fairly nice. They have a good palette that goes well together. These green roofs. So, look at these. I'm going to talk more about depth. All of these buildings hit you at the same time because they're all on the same layer. Look at this. They all line up. But if we, say, go back and then just stagger the houses at different layers, that can make them much more interesting and make certain ones pop and certain ones fall behind. So if you want bigger houses to be in the background and then the smaller houses up front, or if you want the smaller houses to fall and be faded into the background and then have the bigger houses up in front, that's how you can use this depth. That's how you can use depth to make certain houses pop and then certain houses just fall into the background. Obviously, these aren't the best examples, but they get the job done. Next, I want to talk about height. Height can also change a build. Look at this. Now your eyes are focused on this center one, despite the fact that these two are forward. So just adding these focal points and these details can make a build look so much better and so much more professional. Let's look at this. There's so much more to take in with your eyes. And just for a few extra blocks of terrain, which can be so crucial, just shaping your terrain to make it look good. Obviously, you don't have to use just grass and dirt. You can do this in any other biome. But my one rule for making terrain is what would it look like in real life? If erosion had happened, would it have made a crazy, swirly, weird bridge? Or would it have made a simple, calm bridge? Or something like that? It would have made a simple rolling hill. If there were a bridge, it would have collapsed. It wouldn't be there. It would make something that would make sense in nature. That is my idea for how to make terrain. My very simple is would it happen in real life? So the next thing I want to talk about, I don't have a build for. It is connecting to a Discord or a community like a Reddit that would help you. You can ask people to critique your builds or show you what you need to change, and then you can take those things. They'll say something that you ask them what is good, and they'll say something is good, so you take that on into your next build, but they say something is bad, so you don't take that on. For example, you have an amazing roof, but you have a terrible shape and bad frame. If you have somebody who says, hey, that roof is really great, you should keep doing that style of roof, or that type of roof. And then they say, but you should do this instead of this. So if you find the right people, they'll be willing to help you. I promise you, finding somebody to help you learn how to build is infinitely times better than just watching a YouTube video. And the biggest tip that I can give you is build. Dang it. You're not going to make any progress by just not building and watching YouTube videos. The really best way to get better is to build. You're not going to get better at building just by watching YouTube videos and procrastinating. You need to just build a lot. Even if they're small structures and they don't look good, as long as you are improving and learning what you're doing wrong and making new improvements and trying new things, you're going to get better at building. I promise you. I've been building for ages. That's why I've been getting better. I try to get better. I don't just try and watch YouTube videos and just watch YouTube videos and stay inside and I guess play Minecraft. You have to stay inside, but you have to actually get on Minecraft and actually build. Dang it. Build. Build. All right. I think that about concludes my little rant, if you can call it that, about things you can do to improve your builds in this game. If you do at least a few of these things, then your buildings will drastically improve. If you need help, please contact me in the Discord or the Discord that I'll leave in the comments. That's the Discord that I use, asking people for help in building or ideas. I absolutely use it almost every day when I build. If you do also leave something in the comments, I may respond because I'm small and I don't ever get comments and I get really excited. So I'll probably give you a lot of attention. So, if you do need any help, please find somebody. I don't care if it's me, if it's your friend who's good at building, just somebody who's good at building online or in real life. And I promise you, if you ask them nicely, they might just help you. Thank you very much for watching, and you have a good time building.